good to see you. Thanks for joining us. First of all, you're in Lviv, which experienced these attacks overnight. How was it?
Yeah, it was a very long night. There was actually 3 separate waves of attacks. We had 19 Kinjal cruise missiles fired at the oblast here, some of them just flying directly overhead of my apartment here on the way to Stry, which is a small community to the west of Lviv. There was a second wave early in the morning, around 5:45 this morning, and then a third wave a little bit after 9 o'clock. They did manage to hit an energy facility in Stry. Nato gas has confirmed that there's some issues out there. They hit it twice, actually, in the second wave and in the third wave. So it was an interesting morning. We didn't get a lot of sleep out here.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must have been scared.
You know, the difference between the missile strikes out here in Lviv and say, for example, in Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine, northeastern Ukraine, is that sometimes in Kharkiv, you'll get a missile before the air raid goes off. Generally speaking, out here, we have plenty of notice, several minutes, and so we're able to take adequate precautions. Even out at the facility in Stry, they were able to warn the people that were working there overnight. They were able to get out of the way, and so there was no casualties out there because we did have advanced warning. It doesn't really make it much of a difference, but certainly we do have it easier out here than in other parts of the country. I would like to add that this is the third time since December 29th that a Russian missile has crossed into Nato airspace in Poland. And I mean, right now Russia's talking about an escalation, about how if France sends troops into Ukraine, that would be an escalation. Well, violating NATO airspace is certainly an escalation. And, if this was a different country other than Poland, if this was Britain or the United States, for example, I think we would be seeing a different response from NATO.
Well, that's a very good point, because Poland felt it was so serious, they scrambled fighter jets to patrol the border. And it just gives people a little insight into what it is like along that border, because you're not far from Belarus as well. And I know that NATO often patrols that border. I've been there myself.
The Polish border, yes. The Belarusian border, no. But actually, one of the things that Macron raised recently is that he hasn't taken off sending French troops, hasn't taken off the table sending French troops to Ukraine. And a number of other NATO countries have also said that is a possibility, including Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and the Netherlands. And so what would those troops be doing here? There's a few different ideas, but essentially they would be relieving Ukrainian troops so that Ukrainian troops could go and fight along the front lines. So they could be doing training missions out here, but one of them is actually patrolling that border with Belarus. And so that would allow, if you put up allied troops from NATO countries along that border, then the Ukrainian forces that are protecting that border right now could actually be used in the war. So yeah, NATO does patrol these borders. There's additional troops in all of these countries from different nations, different NATO nations in the Baltics, in Romania, and in Poland. And so, but the fact is, this is the third time since December 29th that a Russian missile has crossed into NATO airspace, and NATO has done very little in response.
Yeah, and just finally, Lee, what are Ukrainians making about Vladimir Putin connecting, or trying to connect, or even just suggesting that Ukraine is in some way connected to the attack on the Moscow concert hall? How are they feeling about that?
Well, I mean, they came out, the presidential advisor, Mihailo Podolyak, came out right away and said, it's not our MO, it's not our modus operandi, it's not how we operate. Ukraine has, over the last few weeks, targeted a number of facilities inside Russia. Almost all of them are oil refineries or air bases. They're all connected to trying to prevent the types of attacks that we've seen for the last 3 days, right across every region of the country here in Ukraine. And so this is not the type of operation that Ukraine puts together. So what Ukrainians believe is, the Americans came out a couple of weeks ago and said that there was a likely attack imminent. They recommended to their people to stay away from concerts. The fact that this happened a few days after the election has people, the security services here, certainly the people I've been chatting with, it has them believe that Putin allowed this to happen in order to use this event, this tragic event, to justify an increase in mobilization and actually escalating in the war. So that's what Ukrainians are believing about that attack right now.
Appreciate your thoughts. Thank you so much, Lee. That's Lee Reaney, the editor of New Voice of Ukraine, joining us live from Lviv.